Audiobooks Inspirational presents an unabridged recording of Dark in the City of Light by Paul Robertson, narrated by George Guidall. This book is copyrighted 2010 by Paul Robertson. This recording is copyrighted 2010 by Recorded Books, producer and publisher of Recorded Books Inspirational, an imprint dedicated to stories of faith and the human spirit. And now, Dark in the City of Light.
Chapter 1. The Thief Comes. On a violent, black winter evening, Baron Ferdinand Horshany, in Paris, received a telegram from his wife in Vienna. It was delivered to his lodging on the Rue de Saint-Simon, and by the candlelight at his desk he read its 3 words: "I am ill." "Will there be a reply, monsieur?" The messenger, an old man, shuddered from the cold and stood close to the fire. The heavy coat of his uniform seemed to do little to warm him. Outside, hard gusts of the tempest outside assailed the window. It rattled and shook in its casing, and the wind whistled through it. These were the only sounds inside as the man stood shivering, and the Baron Ferdinand sat, uneasy as the storm. Finally the Baron took the form and touched his pen to the ink bottle. "Today is Monday?" "Yes, monsieur." He scribbled, "Will leave tomorrow, arrive Thursday." "There, take that." The messenger returned reluctantly to the night, and Ferdinand stood and began to pace the room. His steps were silent on the thick carpet, a slow tread that soon became quicker and more troubled. His path was wall to wall beneath 2 portraits, one behind his desk, of the Austrian emperor, and the other opposite of a woman. At last he stopped beneath it. The woman, in her youth with long black hair and striking features, was wearing the fashions of an earlier time. The Baron faced her, looking up. He was 2 hard decades, at least, past his own youth. "Zoltan." His valet appeared. "Yes, master." "We'll depart tomorrow for Vienna. I'll call on the ambassador at his residence this evening to ask his leave." "Yes, master." The cold gale had swept the Rue de Saint-Simon clear of men and light. Above the wind's howl, shutters creaked, and half-loose things beat against hard walls. Yet even against the hurricane blackness, curtained light crept from the buildings, side against side, lining the lane. No shaft of it touched the stones of the street. The glimmering windows were only pictures framed in night of the rooms and the lives hidden like jewels from the thieving storm. It was upon this wailing sheet of shadow that Baron Horshany opened his door, its light spilling even onto the pavement, capturing an island from the blackness. He stepped onto the small square. Then he closed the door, and the light surrendered back to the dark. But the Baron did not surrender himself tonight. He wrapped his thick cape about him and advanced into it. In a warmer season, it would have been a short, pleasant stroll to the Rue de Grenelle. In the cold, he still chose to walk. A few carriages passed, and no one on 2 legs. For most of the way he was invisible in the shadows, the only witness of the war between the powers of the air and the strongholds of earth. He reached the Austrian embassy and pulled the bell. It was a short but chilling wait for the front gate to be opened. Prince Richard von Metternich, ambassador of Franz Joseph, the Emperor of Austria, to Louis Napoleon, Emperor of France, stood by the mantel in his private apartments, a goblet in his hand, and a hot fire dancing at his side. "Your Excellency," Ferdinand Horshany bowed. The room was warm and close and fitfully bright. Flames roared in hearths at either end, and candle flames floated in their silver holders. "Baron, what brings you out on a wretched night?" The prince's careless posture was in contrast to the Baron's military straightness. His youth and finery were as well. He was barely 40, and his emerald satin jacket shimmered like cat eyes. "I must request your leave to return to Vienna." "As you wish, of course." He set aside the formality with a gesture A personal matter? My wife is ill." The Baron's attention was pulled aside toward the far hearth and the 2 chairs beside it. All the light made the shadows blacker, and the shadows leaped.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.